He sticks to me, hugs me, touches me, and calls me wifey at the drop of a hat. My heart pounds like crazy, but I'm painfully aware it's all just how straight guys act, so I play it cool every time. I thought this one-sided crush was doomed to fizzle out, but then one night he got drunk, wrapped his arms around me, and sobbed while kissing me. Boo-hoo, why did you have to be such a clueless straight guy? Ha 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 ha. Who Are You Calling Straight? Chapter 1. After my elective class, I was heading downstairs when I missed a step and tumbled down the stairs. People around me reacted fast. Not fast to help me up, or fast to call the campus clinic, but fast to alert Felix Morgan. Felix, your wifey took a fall, second floor of West Hall, West Side. Get here now. I carefully tried to move my limbs. My palms and knees stung, but it was bearable. I probably hadn't broken anything. It's okay, My attempt to refuse was cut short when Felix's voice burst from the helpful student's phone. His usual lazy drawl was gone, replaced by a sense of urgency. 2 minutes. Don't let him try to tough it out. And just like that, after managing one step down while holding the wall, I was gently pushed back to my spot by the others. When Felix appeared at the turn of the staircase, a group of guys erupted in layers of teasing whoops and hollers. He stood on the landing a few steps below, looking up at me, his chest still heaving. The sunset burned behind him, casting a golden glow over the lush greenery by the campus lake. He was more dazzling than the summer sun. My heart went into overdrive. Ignoring the surrounding noise, Felix strode over and knelt beside me. Where does it hurt? My knee. I lowered my voice. You really didn't have to come. Felix completely ignored the last part of my sentence. Give me your hands. I froze for a moment, not moving. Felix's lips curved into a smile. Fine if you don't. The next second, I felt a brief sensation of weightlessness. When I came to my senses, I was held securely in his arms. He gave a nod to the guy who made the call. Thanks. Then, he carried me straight down the stairs. On the way to the clinic, I couldn't help but wrap my arms around his neck. Where he couldn't see, I almost greedily breathed in the clean, soapy scent on him. Leo Anderson, how old are you? Still falling downstairs. You scared the hell out of me. Sorry, I was distracted. Chapter 2. I was distracted because I'd heard Felix's name. A girl was asking for his contact info, and a classmate of ours grinned and gestured at me with his chin. There you go. Go ask his wifey. I froze, and that's when I missed the step. The truth is, I'm just Felix's roommate, one he's pretty close with. There's no other kind of romantic relationship. The group of people who were just teasing knew this perfectly well, which is why they felt free to joke around. It was just a typical straight guy farce, but none of them, including Felix, knew that I'm actually gay. And that I'm actually in love with him. If they knew, they'd avoid me like the plague. We wouldn't even be friends, let alone roommates. I knew the score. The nurse at the clinic confirmed it was nothing serious, gave me a bottle of iodine, and told me to apply it back in the dorm. There were too many people on the way back to the residential quad, and I absolutely refused to let him carry me again. A piggyback then. That's okay, right? No, it's fine. Felix couldn't win. He clicked his tongue and compromised, wrapping an arm around my waist instead. Seeing me still hesitate, his smile deepened. Seriously, wifey, not even this, I gave in. With a clueless straight guy like him who casually calls people wifey, there was no telling what shocking thing he'd say next in a crowd. With most of my weight leaning on him, shuffling along wasn't too difficult. But just as we reached the dorm building, he bent down and scooped me up in one fluid motion, catching me completely off guard. Felix, I can walk on my own. I tried to push against his chest. It was laughable. I couldn't budge him an inch. Don't mess around, Felix said, tightening his grip. Walking like this is too slow. He had a point. Our dorm was on the 4th floor. At this pace, it would take forever. It would be torture for him. I gave in again. Finally, Felix set me down on my desk and had me step on his thigh so he could roll up my pant leg for me. I was wearing long pants, and the legs weren't very loose. Halfway up, the bunched-up fabric started to rub against the wound. He heard me hiss in a sharp breath and immediately let go. A dark red stain was seeping through the fabric, slowly growing larger. Felix's solution was simple. Take them off. As he spoke, he started to unbuckle my belt. I instinctively covered it. Interrupted, Felix looked up at me and raised an eyebrow. You want me to cut them then? They were new. They cost me $50. I gave in a third time. With my skin exposed to the air, I pressed my legs together nervously. Luckily, Felix didn't tease me flirtatiously like he usually would. He just focused on applying the medicine. I relaxed a little. He must have rushed over from the dorm. His hair was a bit messy, with a small tuft sticking up that he hadn't even noticed. It was kind of cute. I want to touch it. Go ahead and touch it if you want. He spoke suddenly, making me jump. How could he read my mind while his head was still down? Who wants to touch it? Hearing this, Felix looked up, his smile completely open. I do. The bluntness of straight guys will be the death of me. Getting my head ruffled by him was a daily occurrence. He was always putting his hand on my head and messing up my hair like he was petting a cat. Acting coy now would just make me seem petty and like I couldn't take a joke, so I leaned forward on my own. Go ahead, that was generous enough, right? Felix made his move, but his hand didn't land on my head. His warm palm slid onto my inner thigh. I froze, my entire body tensing up instantly. Hiss, don't squeeze me. The veins on his well-defined hand popped as he unceremoniously pinched the soft flesh of my inner thigh. Felix, he lifted his gaze and smiled at me. Didn't you say I could? Who said he could touch my thigh just as I was about to argue? The dorm room door suddenly opened, and the voices of our other two roommates flooded in. Their normal conversation turned into shouts of surprise when they saw the position Felix and I were in. Whoa, did we come back at a bad time? Glad you know it. Felix pulled my pants over my legs to cover me and stood up to screw the cap back on the iodine. Only then did they see the large purple bruise on my knee and crowd around in concern. Leo, what happened? Did you go to the clinic? Why didn't you say something? We could have brought you back dinner. We'd even feed you. See. Noisy but warm-hearted straight guys. No need, I'll go get it, Felix interjected, raising his phone at me. Text me what you want to eat. The two roommates exchanged a look, their tones suddenly becoming suggestive. Oh, boss, our mistake. Please go ahead. We'll take good care of your wifey. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I couldn't help but think back on how our dynamic ended up like this. Chapter 3. During our first class in freshman year, the professor had us play a game of king and queen. Everyone's name was written on a playing card, shuffled, and dealt out randomly. Whoever's name was on your card became your queen, and you had to secretly look out for them for all 4 years of university. As luck would have it, Felix, who was sitting next to me, drew my name. Well, you saw it. So much for keeping it a secret, he said, turning to me with the card pinched between his fingers, a playful smile on his face. Pleased to be your king. Most people forgot about the game as soon as it was over. He was probably the only one who took it seriously. Over the past year, he took great care of me, and at some point, that care turned into doting. It got to the point where even people around us couldn't stand it anymore. The first time Felix called me wifey was at a basketball game after he sank a beautiful three-pointer, crushing the other team's hope for overtime. Amid a roar of cheers and screams, he ran over to me, took the water bottle from my hand, and chugged it down, droplets tracing a path down his bobbing Adam's apple and into his jersey. He pulled off his headband, full of life, his smile wild and triumphant. Wifey, was I cool or what? My heart stopped for a beat before it started pounding, frantically and violently. I had to grip the seams of my pants tightly to suppress the urge to confess my love for him right there in public. After 2 days of agonizing over my tumultuous feelings, I mustered up all the courage I had and decided to formally confess to him. I found him in the equipment room, leaning against a wall, shaking his head helplessly at the guy in front of him. Dude, I'm telling you, I can't be bent. I'm straighter than a steel beam. My scorching, anxious heart felt like it had been plunged into ice water, turning cold and silent. So I wasn't the only guy who had a crush on him. It wasn't surprising. He was so handsome after all. Thank God I hadn't confessed. Otherwise, I would have been the one getting rejected to my face. Chapter 4. Felix was back by the time I had showered and was drying my hair. He frowned slightly, looking a little unhappy. What's the rush? You forgot you're not supposed to get it wet. I wrapped it in plastic wrap. Actually, I had specifically taken a lightning-fast shower while he was out. I knew if he was here, he'd insist on helping me, and what if I couldn't control myself and had a certain reaction I shouldn't have? It had to be avoided. After transferring him money for the food, I suddenly remembered the girl who wanted his contact information. By the way, someone wanted your contact info. Is it okay to give it to them? Felix paused in his actions. What do you think? He seemed to be waiting for my answer. Of course, I didn't want to give it out, but I couldn't say that. I could only vaguely toss the decision back to him. How should I know? She's from the business school next door. She's pretty cute, big eyes, fair skin. Oh no, his voice was cold, so he wasn't into the cute type. What did he like then? The cool, older sister type. He did have a thing for legs, after all. I already have a wifey, no need to give it out to anyone else from now on. I was taken aback and instinctively retorted, be serious. What are you talking about? I don't know if it was my imagination, but Felix's gaze seemed to darken. He handed me my chopsticks and sat down beside me without a word. I don't want a girlfriend. Oh, okay. This was tricky because I had already added the girl. She had a nice name, Chloe Reed. There were so many people around at the time, and I didn't want her to feel awkward, so I added her and promised I'd ask for her. I scooped up a bite of my stir-fry and chewed slowly, carefully choosing my words as I sent her a message. Sorry, Felix might not be looking to date right now. Maybe you should just ask him in person. She immediately replied with a string of panicked emojis. Ah, who said I was going to confess to him? He already has you, doesn't he? I'm not interested in getting involved in other people's relationships. My face burned a little, and I quickly explained. No, we're not a couple. It's just a joke. Oh, I don't get you city folk. She sent a photo, and my fingers, which had been flying across the keyboard, stopped. I snuck this picture of him in the library yesterday. I wanted to send it to him and ask if he'd be interested in being a free model for the photography club. He's too intimidating to ask in person. I'm afraid he'd slap my camera out of my hands and confiscate my gear lol. In the photo, Felix was sitting by a window, sunlight hitting his shoulder as he stared out, lost in thought, his chin propped on his hand. The blue window, the dark green curtains, the pure white t-shirt, the golden arc of light. I've always believed that the more dazzling a person is, the more favored they are by the sun, possessing the ability to make time itself seem dull in comparison. Felix was that kind of person. I quietly tapped to view the original image and saved it. Who are you texting? Felix's sudden voice made me jump. I immediately turned off the screen and by reflex flipped my phone face down on the desk. Feeling that wasn't enough, I shoveled a large mouthful of rice into my mouth to cover my tracks. He frowned slightly and raised a hand, pressing the back of it against my puffed-out cheek. You're all red, I flinched back, feeling a little unnatural. It's that girl. She was asking if you're interested in being a model for the photography club. Felix's beautiful eyes stared at me. After a long moment, he let out a cold snort. So you two added each other. Is she that cute? So are you interested? Not interested. Blunt and final. And if I thought about it, he sounded a little angry. I didn't know what he was angry about. Was it because I was being nosy? Felix always hated troublesome people and things. This time, I had really overstepped. But still, the photo that girl took was really good. I took advantage of the moment he turned away to open the chat again. Got any more? Send them over. I do, but they're unedited. Let me sort through and touch them up first. Unedited is fine, no way, absolutely no unedited photos are leaving my possession, not a single one fine. I'll wait. I smiled as I admired the photo again, so absorbed that I didn't notice Felix had already turned back around. His gaze was heavy, his thoughts unreadable. Chapter 5. Thanks to Felix's care, my knee healed quickly. As a thank you, I treated him to a meal. After dinner, we passed by a movie theater and he grabbed my arm. It's still early. Nothing to do back at the dorm. Let's catch a movie. A movie, wouldn't that be a little too intimate? While I was mulling it over, I heard him say, my treat. Deal. I agreed instantly. I hadn't bought last-minute tickets at a theater counter in ages. I was completely lost. The best seats were long gone. All that was left were spots in the corners. Let's sit here. Felix's long finger pointed to the last row. I leaned in for a closer look. It was a couple's seat. Crap, that scared me. I struggled to keep my expression neutral, trying my best to act nonchalant. Aren't there two seats together right here? Too far to the side. Fine. Refusing again would be too obvious. We're good bros, good roommates. Sitting in a couple's seat is no big deal. Right. After we sat down, I realized we were surrounded by actual couples who were already getting clingy the moment the movie started. I pressed myself against the partition on my side, staring straight at the big screen, trying to look completely engrossed. In reality, all my attention was on Felix. He stretched, he took a sip of his soda, he ate a French fry, he leaned over toward me. I instantly tensed up. It's a little cold. Yeah, I nodded stiffly. They have the AC cranked up too high. How's your knee? As he spoke, his warm hand came to rest on it, gently massaging it. One of his hands was on my knee, the other braced on the partition next to my shoulder. I was completely enveloped in his embrace, with no way to escape. I could only pretend to accept it calmly. It's fine, thanks man, you're a really good friend. Felix, who was leaning on me, froze for a second. He didn't pull his hand back or sit up straight. He just went quiet. Quiet was good. I couldn't handle it otherwise. I sat there, motionless, for a torturous half hour. I didn't register a single thing about the movie. All my senses were on high alert, terrified that this walking charm dispenser would launch a surprise attack. The result was that I heard every little sound from the couple next to us. Oh, stop it. That flirtatious whine almost made me lose my composure. I mean, honestly, how could these couples be so shameless and oblivious to everyone else? Just watch the movie. Felix obviously heard it too. He let out a soft chuckle, the vibration rumbling against my chest. What do you think they're doing? His breath tickled my ear. There are security cameras. They can't do anything too crazy. He hummed in agreement, but the hand that was resting on the partition slowly moved down, inch by inch, until it landed on my waist. After a 1-second pause, he slipped it under the hem of my shirt without hesitation. Can the cameras see this? I almost jumped out of my skin. It took every ounce of my willpower to keep my voice steady. No, they can't see that. They're probably just getting handsy. That's just the dumb way guys are with someone they like. It's like they lose out if they don't get a feel. The moment I said that, Felix went silent. So you know about that. It sounded like he was mocking me, questioning if I was even a guy. Duh, of course I know. It's not exactly something to be proud of. He was the only one with nerves of steel, a clueless straight guy with no concept of boundaries. Sticking to me, hugging me, touching me all day long. If I hadn't heard him say with my own ears that he was straighter than a steel beam, I would have deluded myself into thinking he liked me. Don't flirt with me if you don't mean it. I hate him. Felix pulled his hand back and leaned into his seat. When he moved away from me, I realized the AC in this theater really was turned up way too high. It was a little cold. Chapter 6. Near the end of the movie, Felix stepped out to take a call. My friends invited me out for a late-night bite. Oh, okay, you go on ahead. I'll head back to campus myself after the movie. I breathed a sigh of relief, but once I relaxed, a strange, indefinable sense of disappointment washed over me. His friends, Felix, was incredibly popular. A shining star surrounded by other stars. If it hadn't been for that king and queen game, our paths probably never would have crossed so much. I took a sip of my soda. There was too much ice, and now it was just bland, watered-down liquid. As I was wondering how I was going to get back to campus, Felix suddenly grabbed my wrist and pulled me to my feet. This movie's boring. Come with me. They're all great people. You can meet them, and we can all hang out more often. Seeing me hesitate, he raised an eyebrow and smiled. Or would you rather stay and keep eavesdropping? The couple next to us was now making audible kissing sounds. My scalp tingled. I immediately followed Felix out of the theater. His friends were indeed all very warm and easy to get along with. But what I didn't expect was that the guy who confessed to Felix in the equipment room and got rejected was also there. Everyone else stood up to greet us boisterously, but he remained seated, his gaze shifting from me to Felix without a word. After we all sat down, he suddenly grabbed a big handful of skewers and held them out to Felix, complaining in a familiar tone, "Took you long enough." I snuck a glance at Felix. His expression was natural as he smiled and took them. My bad, send me the bill later." Then he looked down, picked out a few skewers, and placed them on the plate in front of me. He leaned in and said in a low voice, "Try these. Don't eat any that are overcooked." I was still reeling from the shock that you could still be friends after a failed confession, so I just nodded dumbly. Someone laughed and teased, "Damn, boss is getting better and better at taking care of people." Felix placed some more skewers on the grill and didn't deny it. Still got a long way to go. I instinctively glanced at the guy across from us. His lips were pressed together, his face expressionless. A barbecue is never short on atmosphere. His friends were all talkative, and gradually, my initial awkwardness faded. As we were wrapping up, I reached into my pocket and found my tin of mints was empty. Felix has a habit of chewing a few mints after eating flavorful food, and I've always been his personal mint dispenser. "I'll go buy some. I'll go with you." I glanced at the game he had just started on his phone. Someone next to him was urging, "Felix, quick, ban the enemy marksman." "It's fine. The convenience store is right next door." He hesitated for a second, then nodded. Okay, the convenience store had a surprisingly large selection. I crouched down, taking my time picking a flavor. When I stood up, I realized someone was standing next to me. My hand instinctively tightened around the tin of mints. It was that guy. He was the only one who hadn't introduced himself or spoken to me. I didn't even know his name. "Hi," I said, trying to force a friendly smile. "You here for mints too?" He leaned against the shelf with his arms crossed, his gaze cold. "Can you stay away from him?" "What?" I said. "Can you stay away from Felix Morgan?" My mind went blank. It felt as if the ability to speak had been ripped from my body. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I just stood there, frozen, watching as he frowned with a look of disgust. "You enjoy being taken care of by him, don't you? Just soaking it all up, shamelessly clinging to that spot and refusing to leave. It's pretty pathetic. I've known Felix for over 10 years, and I really can't watch this anymore. He's the type of person who doesn't quit easily once he starts something. I don't want to be too harsh, but do you get it?" His words made me burn with shame. I hung my head, feeling utterly mortified. My thoughts were a jumbled mess. When I finally spoke, I stammered out an apology. "I'm sorry, but I never meant to cling to him. We're not in that kind of relationship. That's the point," he suddenly shouted, standing up straight and giving me a hard shove. "Can't you have some damn self-awareness and get the hell away from him so he can have a normal love life?" My heart hammered in my chest and then plummeted. That angry roar snapped me back to reality. He was right. This couldn't go on. Felix is a very responsible person. He'd been looking out for me for so long over some stupid game that no one else cared about, expecting nothing in return. And what had I done? I had despicably hidden my own feelings, playing dumb and enjoying every moment of it. It was truly shameless. What if Felix had grown tired of it long ago? Maybe for the past year, everyone's teasing and cheering had put him on a pedestal. He was in a tough spot and had to keep being nice to me. "Leo," Felix's voice pulled me back. I looked up. The other guy was gone. He walked up to me, his brow furrowed. "What happened? You look terrible." I quickly dodged his outstretched hand and casually rubbed my face. "It's nothing, just got lost in thought." "Are you guys done?" "Yeah, we wrapped up." Felix's eyes never left my face. He pursed his lips and asked tentatively, "Did Caleb Davies say something to you?" I denied it immediately. "No." "We should head back to campus or we'll miss curfew." Chapter 7. Neither Felix nor I had our keys, so a roommate let us in. Well, thought you lovebirds weren't coming back tonight." The usual teasing remark sounded particularly jarring now. I instinctively shot back, "Don't say that anymore. It's not funny." Our roommate froze, looking from me to Felix behind me, completely stunned. I didn't have the energy to explain. Caleb's words had been a sledgehammer, shattering my self-deceiving fantasy and the delicate balance between Felix and me. My mind was a mess. All I wanted was to crawl into bed and be alone. I took 2 steps into the room when my wrist was suddenly grabbed. "Leo, come outside for a minute. I need to talk to you." I tried to pull away, but his grip only tightened. "Tomorrow, we can talk tomorrow." Felix was insistent, showing no sign of backing down. Our roommate looked at me, then at Felix, and quickly pushed me out the door. "Come back when you're done talking." Watching the door close in front of me, my heart sank even further. Felix pulled me to the stairwell and cornered me without another word. What was that about? He was usually so emotionally stable, always calm no matter what happened. But right now, his expression was anything but. I avoided his gaze and said softly, "It's exactly what it sounds like. Let's not be like this anymore." "Like what? Be clear." "Let's not let people misunderstand our relationship. We're just roommates and regular friends." His breathing hitched. "Leo, look at me when you talk." I bit my lip and didn't move. Felix cupped my chin, forcing me to look at him. I met his incredulous gaze, a thick wave of bitterness rising in my chest. "Why? Did I do something to upset you? Everything was fine this afternoon. What on earth did Caleb say to you?" "Don't," I remembered Caleb's words, closed my eyes, and cut him off. "It'll get in the way of a normal love life." As soon as the words left my mouth, the force holding me slackened. Felix stood before me with his eyes downcast, silent. He looked calm, but his chest was rising and falling like he was brewing an emotional storm. The two of us were locked in a strange standoff. He's probably just not used to this, I thought. A year is a long time. To be told this so suddenly must be disorienting. Just as I was trying to figure out how to break the awkward silence, my phone vibrated. I grabbed it like a lifeline and quickly opened it. It was from Chloe Reed. She was crying on the other end. "Boo-hoo, I really can't find any handsome guys who are easy on the eyes and willing to work for free. For the sake of the photos, could you do a photo shoot with me? No meal included, but I can offer you lemonade." I was halfway through typing a reply when Felix suddenly took 2 steps back. He shoved his hands in his pockets and smirked. But that smile, no matter how I looked at it, was dripping with sarcasm. "I get it. I'm getting in the way of you finding a girlfriend, right? Chapter 8. Felix didn't come back to the dorm that night. Our roommate was shocked and surprised. Did you two have a fight? I was vague, but I couldn't help nudging him. Ask him where he went, but don't tell him I asked. When I got the reply, went home, I felt a little relieved. I'd heard his family lived in a wealthy neighborhood in town, but aside from winter and summer breaks, he was at school almost every day. I'd almost forgotten about it. What's up with you two? You're a couple. You're supposed to kiss and make up by morning. He realized what he was saying and abruptly stopped, looking at me cautiously. Sorry, man, force of habit. I shook my head. It's okay. You'll get used to it. It felt like I was saying it to him, but also to myself. I barely slept all night. The next day, Chloe Reed was startled when she saw me. All right, forget the fresh campus vibe. We're going with post-apocalyptic chic. I wasn't in the mood, so I let her pose me however she wanted. We spent the afternoon shooting on the rooftop. Afterward, she plopped down on the ground and started sorting through and editing the photos. I leaned against the rooftop wall, staring blankly at a distant building. What was Felix doing right now? Damn it. People really shouldn't be idle. The moment I had free time, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Are we still shooting? Chloe picked up her phone to check the time, then let out a surprised huh after seeing something. I straightened up. If we're done, I'm heading back. Felix Morgan just added me. My feet stopped. I turned my head, doubting what I just heard. Look, Chloe turned her phone screen toward me. It was really him. Didn't he say he wasn't interested, that he wouldn't add her? I felt a knot in my stomach. I pushed down the strange feeling and asked, why did he add you? He hasn't replied yet. Maybe he was impressed by my photography skills. Whoa, he got my contact info from my club president. Why didn't he ask you for it? Did you two really have a fight? Me? Where did you hear that? I don't know. The campus grapevine is always buzzing with stories about you two. I couldn't imagine how twisted those stories must be. I glanced down at my chat with Felix. The last message was from yesterday when I sent him money for the movie and snacks. He hadn't accepted it or replied. This morning I had even carefully crafted a new message, trying to offer an olive branch. When are you coming back? Still mad? I get it, actually. We got used to all the casual hugging, so it's a little weird to stop suddenly. But seriously, man, wouldn't sweet, soft girls be more interesting? I thought he'd just been sleeping in and hadn't seen it. Turns out he'd left me on read. What was his deal? Acting like we were a real couple having a fight. Last night I'd tossed and turned, unable to figure out what he was so angry about. Did he think I was rejecting him? Did my regular friend's comment hurt his feelings? Now, a vague idea was starting to form. I looked at Chloe. He was probably annoyed that I was getting close to her, suspecting me of trying to steal his potential girl. After all, I wasn't the one she wanted to add in the first place. By the way, I finished editing those photos from last time. Do you still want them? Yes. One of them was a reject. I messed up the aperture, but the vibe is incredible. Sending it to you. It was in the library again. In the photo, he was looking down, typing on his phone. His sharp profile and the lines of his jaw were softened by the overexposure, giving it a gentle, film-like quality. It was hard to miss the gentle smile playing on his lips and in his eyes. I'd call this one lover's pose. Hearing her say that made me pause. What time was this taken? Chloe picked up her camera and scrolled through it. Last Wednesday, around 4:30 p.m. I stared at the chat history on my phone screen, stunned. Last Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Felix had taken a picture of the clouds outside the library window. When he sent it to me, he'd written, "This cloud looks a little like you. I'm so bored I can't read a single word. I should have gone to class with you. When are you done? I'll come pick you up." Chapter 9. I suddenly realized that Felix deserved to know how I felt. He might have an outgoing personality, but he was very soft-hearted. I shouldn't let him get caught in an emotional spiral. I wanted him to know that this past year, I cherished and was grateful for every single moment I spent with him. After that, whether he called me manipulative or was disgusted by me, that would be his choice. He had the right to choose. When I got back to the dorm, Felix still wasn't there. I paced restlessly until it got dark, then gave him a voice call. On the 7th try, he finally picked up, but the voice that came through was Caleb's. "Are you annoying or what? I've hung up on you so many times. Why do you keep calling?" I took a deep breath, gripping my phone tightly. "Where's Felix? Let me talk to him. What's your problem?" "I already told you not to. Let me talk to him." He couldn't hold back anymore and cursed. "Damn it, are you deaf or something?" I snapped back. "Who the hell are you yelling at? You're just some loser who got rejected. Give the phone back to Felix." Now, Caleb suddenly went silent, as if someone had grabbed him by the throat. His voice was hesitant, uncertain. Who got rejected? I didn't have the patience to argue with him because I knew that very soon I'd be that loser too. Felix probably can't come to the phone right now. Chapter 10. I had never seen Felix this drunk. After I managed to get him into a taxi, Caleb stood by the car, stammering, we didn't force him to drink. He did it himself. His group of friends nodded frantically. Yeah, we couldn't stop him. Someone else muttered under their breath, it's over. Felix is totally whipped. I was confused. I rubbed my face. Was I being too intimidating? Seeing him blackout drunk did make me anxious, mostly because it's so bad for your health. Even drunk, Felix's brow was constantly furrowed, a stark contrast to his usual calm and confident demeanor. I couldn't help but reach out to smooth the lines away. The moment my fingertips touched him, my wrist was seized. He mumbled plaintively, "Wifey." My heart melted into a puddle. I wanted to record it so I could play it on a loop when I was old and lonely. The driver's voice floated coldly from the front seat. It's $100 if he pukes in the car. I immediately clamped my hand over Felix's mouth. Worried that taking care of a drunk person so late would disturb my roommates, I booked a room at a hotel near campus. He whimpered and whined the entire way and didn't stop even when we got to the hotel. Inside the elevator, I pinned him in a corner, barely managing to keep him upright. He rubbed his eyes and stared at me, but his gaze was unfocused. I sighed. In this state, I wouldn't be able to say anything. I'd just have to wait until he sobered up. But when he wakes up and finds himself in a hotel, he's not going to think I did things to him, is he? Just as I was trying to figure out how to prove my innocence, a shadow fell over me. I looked up and met his misty eyes. They were red, staring straight at me. Felix, he didn't answer. But the next second he cupped my face and without hesitation captured my lips with his. So soft. No, this is bad, there goes my innocence. He's going to kill me with a knife when he wakes up. I struggled while also trying to keep him from falling over. Felix, do you know, MMMPH, what you're doing? His response was a kiss that grew deeper and more passionate. With a ding, the elevator doors opened, and a gust of wind rushed in. As if waking from a dream, I shoved him away. A tingling, burning sensation lingered on my lips. It slowly faded into the air. I wrapped my arm around Felix, feeling a sense of loss. I'll just consider this a consolation prize for my inevitable failure. But this was a lot of consolation. Stumbling down the hallway, pressing against the door to open it, being pushed onto the bed the moment we got inside, he never stopped. His mind was gone, but his mouth could still kiss. It was terrifying. And his kisses were getting more intense, so fierce it felt like he was trying to swallow me whole. Luckily, he was too drunk for anything to happen down there, otherwise things really would have gotten out of hand. Wifey. I was dizzy from being kissed, and I subconsciously mumbled, The breath of the man on top of me hitched, and then he let out a sudden, cold laugh. You're not. That sentence sent a jolt through my brain. I guiltily pushed him back a little. Is he awake? His unfocused eyes told me he wasn't. My heart was pounding. My subconscious was screaming at me to hit the brakes, but I couldn't stop myself. I stroked his hair. It was soft, and my heart softened with it. Yeah, I'm not, but I wish I was more than anything. You're a clueless straight guy. Yeah, The nerve impulse crawled slowly along my numbed reflex arc to my brain. I blinked slowly. What was he talking about? Before I could process it, something warm splashed into my eye and slid down my cheek. I reached up and touched it. It was wet. His eyelashes, now damp, looked even thicker, like dense bushes by a deep pool. And at that moment, the pool was overflowing, tears splashing down onto my face. You're a clueless, dense, straight guy. I like you so much. Boo-hoo, why did you have to be such a clueless, straight guy? He kissed away all my shock and questions, leaving only a tangle of tears and broken sobs. My mind was a complete fog. Who was he calling straight? Who the hell was he calling straight? Finally coming to my senses, I grabbed his collar, demanding an explanation, but his body went limp and he fell asleep. He fell asleep. Chapter 11. I spent the entire night pacing back and forth, pulling at my hair. I'd shake Felix, he wouldn't wake up, so I'd go back to pacing and pulling my hair, then shake Felix again, sometime in the dead of night. I couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep leaning against him. I dreamt all night of being chased by a straight guy. When I woke up, the room was bright with daylight. I saw Felix pacing anxiously around the room. When our eyes met, he stopped abruptly, his mouth opening and closing as if he wanted to say something. Did we? His voice was laced with cautious probing. My brain rebooted, and I scrambled to explain. No, nothing happened. You were drunk. I brought you back here, and we just slept. He clearly didn't believe me. But that wasn't the point. The point was the words that had been brewing since yesterday afternoon. Felix, I like you. Damn it, I just blurted it out. The whole speech I'd prepared was useless. Even though this was what I'd meant to say, my teachers always taught us that you don't get points for just writing the answer without showing your work. After all that anxiety, I'd just turned in a 0-point answer. Wait, let me start over. I scrambled out of bed and stood in front of him, gathering my courage, my voice full of solemnity. Felix, his face suddenly loomed closer, swallowing the rest of my words. This was killing me. I wanted to tell him that my heart had fallen for him a long, long time ago. I love the way he looks at me, the tone of his voice when he speaks to me. I love how he sometimes tries to act cool and sometimes acts cute. I love his meticulous care and thoughtfulness. Frustrated, I tried to push him away, but he was immovable. I could only squeeze out words during the breaks when he came up for air. Let me finish first. Felix caught my wrist with one hand, forcing my palm flat against his chest. His frantic heartbeat and the rise and fall of his chest from his ragged breaths were transmitted directly into my hand. I already heard you, but I wasn't finished. I like you is enough. Felix rested his head in the crook of my neck, panting. Right now, I can't process any more words. To be honest, neither could I. My head was spinning, the overwhelming happiness tangling my nerves into a complete mess. After a long moment of trying to calm down, he lifted his head, a slightly mournful look on his face. Why didn't you say so sooner? I was going to confess earlier, but that day I heard you reject Caleb, saying you couldn't be bent. Caleb, Felix repeated the name, confused, before it dawned on him. I was talking about you, you blockhead. I was fanning my feathers for you like a peacock, until my tail was about to fall off, and you were just standing there wondering where that colorful bird came from. It wasn't that I didn't see it. I just didn't dare to believe it was for me. Was it him spouting nonsense to you last night, too? I'm gonna go beat him up. Felix grabbed his phone and started typing furiously. It looked like he was writing some pretty nasty things. I, on the other hand, was starting to understand. Caleb really was just upset seeing his friend simp for me and wanted to stick up for him. I tugged on his sleeve. Forget it, we might even have to invite him to sit at the head table at our wedding. If he hadn't stirred the pot, we probably wouldn't be together yet. Wait, there's someone else who should be at that table. Why did you add Chloe Reed? I thought you two were going to start dating, and you never post on your social media feed. I was confused. What was the connection between those two things? Felix scratched his face, his voice getting quieter. Girls usually post more often. I wanted to see you, what you're like when you're really in a relationship. I could have died right there. Dude, you are so down bad. What time is checkout? 2 o'clock. Felix glanced at the time and tossed his phone aside. Still early, plenty of time for me to love you to death. It was evening by the time we got back to the dorm. Our roommate's eyes darted between the two of us. Well, looks like you two kissed and made up. How about you guys pay me some damages? Seriously, I was worried about you all night. I just giggled, secretly taking Felix's hand under the desk.